Good evening and welcome to Conservation Commission's meeting of Monday, July 27th. In compliance with Governor Baker's COVID-19 social distancing, we will have some Zoom meetings members and conservation members here in the town hall. With that, I'll officially open the meeting for any public comments, being 7 o'clock.
Want to pass that down?
All right. Is Jim on?
Jim's not coming.
Jim's not on Zoom, so okay.
Jeff is supposed to be.
All right, Jeff. Yep, there you are. Okay, welcome. Are you on mute, Jeff, or?
Nope, not anymore.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. We got anything we've got that we can do for about 3 minutes that we can take care of?
Let's see. Did I say I'd reviewed the minutes of June 1st?
Yeah, I would
No,
rather-
I've reviewed June 29th.
Okay, I'd rather have Jim
Oh,
do those.
that's the only thing I can think of we could do right now.
Okay, West Street, order of conditions.
Well, I guess we could do that. That's what I've been rushing around trying to do here. I pretty much created a boilerplate, but,
Jane?
yeah, it's basically a boilerplate. I have a couple of things I
Jane?
need to fill out still. Oops.
Okay.
Thank
Get
you.
close to the mic.
I've put together what is pretty much a boilerplate order of conditions with special conditions and what I usually put together, that type of thing. So, here it is, if you want to okay it and
Somebody want to
sign
make a
it.
motion to sign the order of conditions for 157594?
I'll make that
I'll make the
motion to
motion.
sign the order of conditions of 157594.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Lawson Farms extension, or is that going to take longer?
That's going to take longer.
Okay. And the river bridges, that's going to take a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah.
So okay. Wait 2 minutes until 7:05.
Hey, Bob, can we take care of East Street? Do we need to wait?
Oh, yeah, you could continue East Street.
Was that?
Have to wait until 7.
Oh, we do? Okay, never mind.
I guess I can read the announcement before 7:05, so we can get started at 7:05. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, July 27th, 2020, at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, on a notice of intent filed by Neil Cohen, Beaumont's Pond Homeowners Association, for the cutting of trees and vegetation from the embankment at Beaumont's Pond Dam via East Street. Portions of the proposed work lie within 100 feet of a resource area. Application is available for public inspection at the Conservation Office, Town Hall. All right, did I make it to 7:05? I did.
Is that?
How's,
No? Well, I'm here for it, yeah, I'm just here to listen. Yeah.
okay. Who do we have? Lauren?
Hi,
Hi.
can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay,
So far,
great.
yes.
Hi, I'm Lauren Gluck with Power Corporation, and I'm here representing the Beaumont Pond Homeowners Association for the project, which is tree clearing along the embankment of the Beaumont Pond Dam. So I'm actually going to share my screen and kind of give an overview of where the project is, and then go over what the project entails and what the resource area impacts are. And if at any point someone has a question, feel free to interrupt me and just let me know. So,
Okay.
Do I need to step aside?
sorry, this is my
I want to
first
say something
Zoom
about
meeting
that, yeah.
ever. Gotta
What's that?
find that.
Technicality.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh,
I'm just
yes.
finding,
Hang
yeah,
on a second,
finding the
Lauren.
file I want to pull up.
Okay, hang on a second.
All right,
Okay.
so I need to recuse myself, or?
Yeah,
Should I sit in the audience?
sure.
All right. I'm in a butter, so.
Okay. All right. Can everyone see this map that I have up on the screen?
Yes.
So the Beaumont Pond Dam is outlined here in a red rectangle. This dotted line here is the access path that will be used for construction equipment to get to the site. It's an unpaved road off of East Street that goes through the woods, and it's actually pretty well defined and clear of trees and other vegetation, so it's ideal. The dam itself is over here, and as you can see, it's pretty heavily wooded. The Little Canoe River flows from east to west down here. Then the outlet of the dam is the Canoe River. They converge downstream of the dam. And essentially, the project is just to cut all trees from the dam embankment and within 10 feet of the downstream toe of the embankment to improve the dam safety, to comply with current dam safety regulations. And in doing so, since we're on a dam, we're affecting various resource areas. There is the bank. Actually, I think I'll switch to another file at this point. Let's see. Okay. Can everyone see this plan okay?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So this shows, here's the access road off of East Street. It goes down through the woods and links up with the dam. This is the limit of disturbance, and we'll go to another drawing that has a closer view of that shortly. But this just gives you some context for how they're getting in there. There is one area where the path crosses a wetland, and the wetland itself that's crossing the path is more just kind of like an overflow between two areas of wetland on either side of the path. There's not really much vegetation or anything growing on the path. It's just kind of a puddled area in the path. But because of that, that's considered an impact, and we have a timber mud mat crossing right down here where my cursor is in the detail, which would just be considered a temporary impact. Once the repairs are done, that would just be removed, and that BVW be allowed to restore to what it is now. So that is one area. That's about 185 square feet of BVW impact, and that's really the only wetland impact for this access path, aside from buffer zone and riverfront area. We do have the Little Canoe River kind of paralleling the path, and then you see out here is the 100 and 200 foot riverfront area of that.
Okay,
Then when
is
we
there
go-
another potential wetlands crossing that you're going to have to cross? Right now, it's as dry as a bone, but depending upon the time of year that you're going to be doing this work, there appears to be another wetland crossing that you'll have to cross. Right now, it's kind of been gravelled where the pathway is, but it looks to me like it's a definite wetland crossing.
Really? I didn't observe anything wet when I was out there. I've been out there a few times a year. What exactly was that location? Do you know, was it further towards the dam, or
No,
was
it's
it?
close. I would say it was within a couple of 100 feet, maybe 300 feet of the first wetland crossing that you have there.
Really? Okay. That's certainly something we can look into. And again, when I was out there, it was pretty dry.
It's very dry, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
now.
So, I mean, if the commission wanted to take a look, and if it is determined there's an actual other BVW or resource area on that path, I'm sure another timber mat could be placed down in the same format I didn't find any other wetlands out there when I was flagging, but totally understandable. Any other questions about the access or?
Well, yeah, a couple, actually. You state that it's 8 to 10 feet wide. Walking on it today, it did not seem to be that wide to me in a number of areas. It was quite
Okay.
narrow. And I guess, what type of equipment are you planning to bring in on that?
I'm not exactly sure the exact types of equipment. I think it's going to be fairly small scale equipment for use for clearing trees. I can get the specifics. I don't even know if we know the specifics. They don't have a contractor lined up just yet, so, but be dictated by that. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what type of equipment, but it's, there are some areas where there are overhanging branches that would need to be trimmed, and the NOI does talk about that. There's probably some areas right now, it being the growing season, where branches of shrubs have encroached out into the path, which, branch cutting and things like that are assumed to be necessary. But in terms of tree clearing, we didn't find any areas that it seemed like additional tree clearing would be needed along the path itself.
All right.
Do you have any idea when you're planning on doing the work?
They're anticipating to do it fall or winter of this year.
Okay. Have you considered coming in off of the Betsy Davis cul-de-sac where you have a right-of-way down to the dam?
We did take a look at that a little bit during our field work, because we were aware of that, and that it's also pretty close to the dam and to the path. There didn't seem to be like a clear-cut way that we'd be able to go in without doing substantial clearing. And it was pretty steep slope as well. You'll see right there, there's some topography there. It'd be hard to get some vehicles down there.
Okay. All right, that's it for now. Continue.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the other plan sheet here. This shows a closer up view of the dam. All of these circles here are trees that were GPS located that were above 4 inches DBH. So in total, there were 48 trees above 4 inches diameter. There's also a pretty substantial number of saplings and shrub growth in the understory. So as part of this project, all of the trees would be cut. They would not be grubbed at this point. That's something that the homeowner association would be looking to do in the future once funding is available. Right now, they're just going to be cutting the trees flush with the ground. And then any woody vegetation, cutting that as well. Any vines, any shrubs, saplings, things of that nature. So some of those trees are located along the delineated bank, which you'll see these bank flags along the upstream side of the dam. So there are some bank impacts there, as well as along the outlet stream here, just this edge. We're keeping all our work to the east side of the spillway. We're not crossing over to the other side. It's pretty clear over there as it is. There's also going to be some BVW impact down here. We have the BVW line, which is Series A, that follows kind of the toe of the slope. And because dam safety regulations require cutting within 10 feet of the toe, we are going to be taking some limited trees and vegetation out of the wetland, but keeping equipment out of there and allowing it to restore with herbaceous, more preferable wetland vegetation that won't be allowing root systems to penetrate the dam embankment. There is also an area of Zone A floodplain that I can't tell exactly where it is. It's kind of a weird Zone A where it doesn't completely make sense, but regardless, we're not changing topography, we're not grading anything. This project should not have an impact on the floodplain. And we have a ring of erosion controls. I believe compost filter socks are going to be used around the entire perimeter of the access and the work area here. And That's about it. Oh, there's a staging area down in the corner, outlined in a dashed line, which once the trees are cut, they would be stockpiled there for trucking off site or potentially chipping on site. It kind of depends on what the contractor comes back with for pricing on both those items, which is more feasible. So that's about all for the work. It's pretty straightforward. If anyone has any questions at this point, I'd be happy to answer them.
Jane, do you want to start off?
You have all my cheat sheets.
No, you've got it. I gave it back to you.
Isn't it in front of you?
Oh, oh.
I know one thing. I noticed that your limit of work is going to go into the bordering vegetated wetland,
Yep.
but because this is an ACEC, you're really not supposed to do that.
Okay.
Want to speak to that at all?
Well, it's a dam safety standard. Yeah, I understand it's an ACEC and that wetland impacts are to be avoided to all practicable extents, but removal of woody vegetation from a dam is essential to protecting the safety of the dam, getting those root systems out of there so they're not penetrating the earthen embankment, creating a wind throw hazard, or creating habitat for animals that are going to burrow into the dam. So they need to remove those trees to comply with the Office of Dam Safety standards.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how that does comply with the ACEC requirements. We've got to paint everyone with the same brush, and we have other applicants who also want to go into such an area and have not been allowed to do so. So that's something that
I could certainly address the requirements. I could write something up in a letter if that would be helpful.
I'd appreciate that.
But yeah, this is a dam safety issue, and you really can't have trees growing out of dams or within a certain perimeter of the dam.
Well, there's another piece that you just mentioned, and you talked about the roots. Now, unfortunately, when you cut all these trees and shrubs, they're going to try to grow, but they are eventually going to die, which should probably cause more problems with the roots and create more places for rodents and such to try and make burrow holes. So that doesn't quite jibe with me somehow.
So the reason for phasing it this way, normally you just clear and grub the whole dam. Because of funding, the homeowner association is planning on cutting the trees this year and then hopefully next year grubbing out those root systems. I think the year time frame, I don't know. I don't think that it's likely that those will decay enough to kind of create those types of voids within a short time frame. And in the NOI, we do address that the trees are, there's probably going to be some coppice and some resprouting on some of those stumps, so that those would periodically be cut down to kind of prevent them from resprouting like crazy.
I realize this is a stopgap measure, but we've been visiting the site for several years because they've wanted to do this. And it keeps on specifying roots are bad, roots are bad, roots are bad, and yet it sounds to me like it's going to create more problems because the roots will remain and start to decompose when the trees are no longer part of them, even when they do try to sprout. But that's just my opinion. Let's see what else there is.
And when ultimately the roots are pulled out of the dam would be regraded, those voids would be filled. All of that will be addressed at that time.
Yeah, I
And that funding is-
understand that, but it's in the meantime that I'm concerned about. I thought that you said something about compost socks, compost filter socks will be used. I thought I read something about straw wattles.
I might have been wrong. Let me just, sorry. Let me just
This is a
pull up the
test.
NOI.
I'm trying to test you.
Okay. I might have,
Page 4.
I
Page
may have
4?
misspoken. Let me just go in here.
I'm told page 4.
Page 4 of what?
12-inch straw wattles.
The cover letter. Got it. That might have been the case. And let's
because we don't like them. It's at the very bottom of the page.
Okay, we said 12-inch straw wattles. Okay, so you don't like straw wattles.
No, we love
Do
the
you have a
compost-filled,
preference for?
compost-filled socks that you talked about.
Okay. Okay, so compost filter socks over straw wattles. Okay.
Let's see, just to be a bigger pain in the neck. Impacts to BVW are limited to temporary alterations, and disturbed areas will be allowed to reestablish with wetland vegetation. That sounds lovely, but a lot of times when you do open up the canopy and you get rid of the native vegetation and the non-native vegetation takes over like crazy. So
Yeah.
Judy will probably want to say more about that.
Okay.
Go ahead, that was not on my radar.
It wasn't, okay. So, I mean, if you're clearing this all out, they are going to go back and they're going to cut the coppice and such from the trees, but if you do impact the BVW, which I'm not certain that's something that really is allowed in an ACEC, let's see, no permanent purpose. Disturbed areas will be allowed to reestablish with wetland vegetation, but something should be in there that specifies monitoring for invasives and removal.
Actually, there was something in there about seeding with a native seed mix in the BVW impact discussion. So yeah, we were anticipating that just kind of restoring it by allowing the native seed mix to do its thing and get some herbaceous stuff in there.
I didn't
That's
see
just
that.
under
Where's
item
that?
A. Huh?
I did not see that.
Oh, okay, that's on page 6. I'm actually in the document on my, I can share the screen with you if you want. It's page 6 of the document, page 5 of the cover letter, under bordering
Oh, page
vegetated
5.
wetlands. He said, let's see. Okay, yeah, it wasn't in the initial paragraph. It was under A, item A, at the bottom of the paragraph responding to item A. Following grubbing, oh, okay, no, never mind. We had said that following the grubbing, it would be planted with a native seed mix. So in the interim, yes, you're right. We hadn't proposed anything to restore the area, but if you think it would be helpful in combating the invasives, I'm sure the homeowner association would be open to putting down a native seed mix to inhibit some of that to the degree that they can. And again, if they're going back the following year and grubbing, anything that's there is going to be disturbed in pretty short order. But
Well, the BVW is probably on a flatter, lower area. Some of it may be on the
Yeah.
slope. I can't remember from my previous time seeing it, but hopefully they're not going to be going back down in there and grubbing and removing things. Is the BVW
yeah.
partially on the slope?
the BVW, no, it's kind of at the toe of the slope. So I think there's only a couple trees in there. Let me go back to my drawing here. Can you see my screen anymore, or am I not screen
Yeah, we
sharing?
can still see it.
Okay, so this is the BVW line. So we've got 1 tree, 2 trees, kind of on the margin of wetland and upland. And then within the wetland itself, like aside from those 2 that are kind of on the edge there's nothing down in there that would need to be disturbed. So except for, they're cutting shrubs, they're cutting saplings, but
I think I'd probably suggest just making the limit of disturbance inside of the wetland area and maybe having, if there's a tree or 2 on the slope, removing them by hand if they're in the wetland area.
okay.
That's it for me. I
So
think.
removing them by hand if they're in the wetland area, and then for future, when it's time to do the grubbing, do you think there would be some pushback about that? If they're in the wetland, you would be more inclined to want to see those stay, the stumps, or
The what?
the remaining stumps when it's time to go back and do the grubbing. those that are on the wetland line, would you say the commission would be okay with rubbing those out, or is that something where you'd want to see them stay if at all possible?
I would want to see them stay. I don't know. I can't speak for the commission, but, you know, I still have a problem with the BVW being altered in an ACEC because we have, like I said, we have to consider other projects as well. I know this is for a dam restoration.
It's a limited project as well. I don't know if that gives
Excuse
it any
me?
pull. It's a limited project.
I'd have to look it up, but it seems to me you still have to comply with the ACEC requirements.
No.
Okay, I can take a look through and provide kind of a summary of that, and if that's helpful.
And limited projects, I just want to remind you, are discretionary.
I know.
Judy?
Yeah, my biggest concern about this area is when I was over there today, it doesn't look like a constructed earthen dam. It looks to me like the area was just natural topography when the dam was put in Bowman's Pond and then the pond was flooded. So, I mean, there is a gigantic oak on this earthen dam that has been, I mean, it's huge, so it's been there for a long, long time. Do you have any information about what the area looked like previous to Beaumont's Pond? And if it's a natural embankment, does that still put it in the category of an earthen embankment under the under the dam safety regulations?
So I don't have any historical information on what the area looked like prior to it being impounded. I can certainly look into that if that would be helpful. But in terms of it being classified as a dam, it is classified as, I believe it was a large, I have to look back at my NOI. But it's classified as a dam, and I believe it has to, and I'm not an engineer, but I believe it has to do with, you know, what it's impounding and then the hazard. So it's an intermediate size, class 3, low hazard dam potential structure under the dam safety regulations. So, I mean, I'm not sure.
Who classified it as a dam? Was that the Office of Dam Safety?
I believe so. I believe they're the ones that set those standards.
Commonwealth, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, Judy, whether, you know,
I mean, it just looks to me like they put the spillway there because that was the outlet for the Canoe River originally. And I mean, when you cut all these trees, the trees are huge on this earthen dam because I think it was just the natural topography. So when this grubbing occurs, I don't even know how you're going to address the size of some of these trees on this, in this area. And I think that it could get into a real quagmire of problems when you're doing the grubbing to try and grub out some of these large roots. I know in the DePonset Reservoir Dam, they had to, I think they had to fill those voids. They had to go through a whole process where they injected some kind of, I don't know, some substance into the voids. So
Yeah, they would certainly be doing that in an engineeringly, you know, in a sound manner of filling those voids. It would be done in the proper way, and you know, part of why it's not being done now is because there's a whole other design element that would have to happen for that, and it's a bigger effort for the project that then can be done at this time. So we're anticipating that.
Yeah.
I was trying to look into, I'm trying to see if we have any more historical information on the dam that I can readily access through an old report or something right now, but I can certainly look into the history of it when it was built. And, you know, we do a lot of dam work, and I've seen a lot of these. I flag all the wetlands on them, and a lot of dams look like this when, you know, over the decades, the trees get in there, and then they start to really look like a natural topographic slope that, you know, just because they're so overtaken by trees after decades of not being maintained. So it didn't look unusual. to
Yeah,
me.
I mean, we did the Upper Carpenter Pond Dam, but that one looked like the actual dam had been built up. I mean, there were trees
That
all
was-
over it too.
That was built,
But
definitely.
it was built up. The water level at this dam it's very close to the top of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I
it-
understand. And it's a smaller dam. I can see what information we have on the history of it.
Okay.
As of right now,
Wasn't it created back in the late 50s, early 60s? Didn't they take dirt or sand and gravel out of there for Route 95 when they were building that? Isn't that the history of the pond?
So it goes all the way back to the 50s?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have some historic records in my files upstairs somewhere, digital ones that I've come across. There've been all sorts of stories.
Yeah.
And that's one of
I
them.
thought that's when it was created.
Well, she writes that
It'd be
the
interesting to
2000,
know the history of it.
Yeah, because, well, assuming that the Canoe River ran through there and then they just started going out. So,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why
Right.
the dam the spillway is there. That was the original course of the river.
Sure.
So,
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? Jeff?
Not right now. I mean, I wanted to see some more information about the plan.
Okay. Yes, identify yourself for the,
Sure. I'm Jim Callahan. I live at 4 Betsy Davis Road. I abut the pond in this project here. I'm just curious, trying to read the map of where the work is being done. Is there any tree removal being done right along the pond itself? I know the path down there, I go down there all the time. Is all the work being done left of the main path? I'm trying to read it. I'm not very good at reading this stuff, so.
okay.
I'm just curious, because I think those trees along the water, I don't know, if they go away, it could lead to, you know, I see milfoil all over the place in that pond, right? And one area that's not there is there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my concern. I'm just asking questions for clarification.
Yeah, the trees, well, if you go down, do you know where the right-of-way is from next to your property?
Yeah.
Go right down there
Yeah,
and go towards the dam, and that's where all the work is going to be done.
right, on both
On
sides.
both sides.
That's the path there, right?
Yes.
Sides.
On
Both sides.
Right, okay, so I guess I'm concerned about that, so. Because it's a beautiful spot, and I don't know. So,
Now, we don't want to spoil it, that's for sure. It is a beautiful spot.
yeah, yeah.
It's,
Uh,
oh, sorry.
Another butter, Mr. Galimi?
Rich Delaney. My only question
Mike,
is.
Rich,
Oh, sorry.
or go up there.
You can come up to the table, Rich.
Table.
My question, my question is, can you hear it?
Yeah, you don't need to push it.
No.
Oh, you don't?
Is, you're talking about stripping the trees out because they're just doing this one phase because of lack of funds. What's the guarantee that they're gonna do it in a year and not let this thing sit and the roots rot?
Yeah, that's my question. Also, it says they'll be maintaining the growth of woody vegetation and sprouting of stumps on an annual basis. That kind of inclines to me that it's going to be more than 1 year. So, Lauren, do you have any response to that?
Well, as of right now, the plan was to do it within about a year, and that probably only one episode of cutting that vegetation would be necessary. But we put that in there just in case it was prolonged, that would be the standard, that it would be every year would be maintained to kind of control the growth. As to the guarantee of the funding, I'm not sure if anybody from the association would like to speak to that. I could certainly have that discussion with them. But that's,
I think I would like a more definitive answer if I could get one.
Yeah, so this is Mike Hassman. I'm with the association. I'm the clerk of the association, and it is our intent to do it within the time frame that the state has set for their inspections. So I'm looking up the information right now, but I believe there's 3 years left that we have to get this work done. And that would be the maximum time it could go. It's either 2 or 3 years. But
Could you
we've
speak
been
up
in
a
the
little bit
process of
louder?
raising the fund.
Your voice is dropping off.
Who is?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, it was this mic he's talking about.
No,
No, we couldn't hear that one
somebody
either.
was zooming in, and I'm not sure who.
From the association.
Yes, from the associate.
Yes, so again, this is Mike Hassman. Can you hear me?
That's better.
Okay. Yeah, so basically the state inspections are mandating a time for us to get this work done. I was looking for the date. It's either 2 or 3 years out from right now. So we would need to get all of the tree clearing and then stump removal and backfill work done within that time frame. So we have been raising the funds to do this and did decide to do it in phases, just so it's all not coming at once. But there is a time frame that really is mandated by the state in the follow-on inspection criteria.
I'd kind of like to see everything done at one time.
I have another comment. Can I?
Okay.
So, Lauren, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So this is a low hazard potential structure. So I remember when Upper Carpenter Pond Dam was done, it was also a low hazard structure. And rather than take all the trees off that embankment, what they did was they put in a spillway that was lower, so they took the pressure off the dam. So they did not have to clear all of the trees off of that embankment. I wonder if that is an option for this project. I mean, it would have to be coordinated with the homeowners association, and there would have to be some calculations made and everything, but I'm just wondering if the same kind of fix is doable for this structure.
To be honest, I'm not really sure. We might have to have our dam group take a look at that.
Okay.
I know typically trees on dams are a no-no, and
Oh,
But
I agree with that, but
yeah.
I'm with Judy. I'm not sure if this was a constructed dam or just happened to be there, because the size of especially that oak tree, that's been there over 150 years, I would say, at least. So it's not a constructed dam per se. So my 2 cents.
And yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there as an alternative to this.
So what you saw at Carpenter's was what exactly did they do? They
Upper
had to
Carpenter
modify the
Pond
structure?
Dam. Pardon me?
They had to modify the dam structure, modify the spillway?
What they did was they put in an emergency spillway that was lower. And they didn't have to do anything to the pond. I mean, the emergency spillway is basically at the normal elevation of the pond. In that case, the embankment was much higher than the water level, though, than this particular situation. So I don't know if it's feasible, but it seems like maybe something to look into, because that was what was determined for that particular site.
Okay, so does the commission want us to address why in this case, if there's no favorable alternative, why the tree clearing is necessary?
I know that the Office of Dam Safety requires it, so I'm with you there.
It's addressed in the cover letter.
Yep.
So I'm not really sure what else we can say to that. It's a standard dam safety practice.
But
I'd like point out one little thing. Because of the size of these trees, you're not going to have normal small equipment in there to move them around. Plus, the width of the vehicles to even remove the trees, the cherry pickers, is going to really be brushing up against an 8-foot wide right-of-way. You're going to be clearing more than that to get that type of a truck in there later after this work is done. And a lot of times they use skidders to move these bigger trees just to your staging area. Because I don't think a tree person's going to want to use his bucket or crane to get, well, in other words, if you use a crane, it's going to be big, it's going to be wide, but to bring it in there for a small amount of work, I think we'd be better off knowing what type of equipment we're actually dealing with here, because that right away, the existing way, might be cleared wider. Luckily, it's straight, but.
Yeah, the actual cleared way, I believe it was more like 12 or more feet for most of it. I have some notes on it from when I was out there. I don't remember offhand. But there seemed to be enough clearance. It wasn't just 8 feet of clearance. I think in some areas that the compacted path itself is 8 feet, but there's actually a wider cleared corridor there. But we could certainly discuss what types of equipment would be used if that's helpful, and get more detail on that.
that would be appreciated.
Want to continue it?
Oh, yeah, definitely continue. Jane, do you have anything else to add?
I can't think of anything, but it seems sort of counterintuitive to do this in phases when one of the main things that's cited as being a problem are tree roots. If they're
And
going to
they're
do
not
it,
doing
why
the
don't they
tree roots,
just
yeah.
wait until they have the money and do it all in one fell
Fell
swoop?
swoop.
I
That would
mean,
be my
that seems to
preference.
make more sense.
Plus, if the history shows that this is a natural embankment, like Judy mentioned, there might be a better way of handling the situation without doing all this clearing.
Well, that's why I said there might be another alternative,
Yeah.
dropping the water level in Beaumont's Pond. To take the, that's what was decided with another site that was a low hazard situation. That was enough. They didn't have to take the trees off the embankment.
So you're talking about permanently lowering the water level?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
So I'm just thinking of that would be more extensive wetland impacts on the perimeter of the pond. You're going to change hydrology of wetlands around the
We're
pond
not
at that
talking
point.
feet, we're talking just a little bit.
I think it was, it wasn't that much, maybe, I don't know what, I don't want to say. I wanted to say a foot, but
I don't think it was even a foot. I think it was just a few inches, basically, just to reduce the pressure on the dam.
It was
And,
just, no,
and-
the one you were talking about, they kept it just about the same level it would be. It just, they prevented it from getting
Right,
so high that it would
overtopping.
get
Right.
overtop.
And I know that, when we redid the Neponset Reservoir Dam, that was not a low hazard. I don't know what was classified, but in the interim to make that dam safer, they dropped the water level until the dam could be fixed. So that is a way of mitigating for the hazard of the dams, is to drop the water level and take the pressure off the dam. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if it's a suitable, alternative here. Like I said, somebody would have to look at it.
We could provide a write-up to you, and, we have some other comments I've been keeping track of that I was planning to address, so we could address that as kind of an alternatives analysis.
Yep.
Where we're looking at, okay, why is this feasible? Why is it not? What are the potential impacts of these other approaches that could, they could potentially have greater impacts to wetlands that are unforeseen?
Sounds good.
And also, I'm curious, Lauren, about the file from 2007, where they replaced the primary spillway, improvements to stability of walls on the downstream side, regrading irregular slopes along the dam crest. I'd be curious to see what the plans were that they used. I didn't look it up yet in our vault. Would you happen to have a copy of those by any chance?
In our files, we certainly do. I can look for them. So you're looking for the permitting plans for the 2007 application?
Yes, that would be really helpful just to see, because it probably would have a plan of existing conditions and then proposed conditions, and who knows, at the time they could have built it up then.
I think some of the base plan information we used on this plan was from those old plans, because we did those old plans. We
Okay,
worked on
good,
that, so.
good. So you should be able to
Yeah.
grab them easily then, I hope.
Yeah,
It'd be easier than sending Diana into the vaults to try and find it.
yeah, I can certainly send those along.
All right. So anything else you want to add for tonight, Lauren?
I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
We've stated our case, and I can address those comments. I think the main ones were the ACEC, the equipment, what type of equipment, size of the equipment, justifying why we're removing trees from the dam structure. Those were the main points that I.
And possibly
well, I
an
had-
alternative spillway
Alternative.
to take the pressure off the dam.
Also, you look into the history of that
Yep.
Beaumont Pond and dam construction. And Jane
Yep.
said she may have some, historical information in her file, if you want to come down and take a look at that.
Or I can send them to her, probably. No, I mean my digital files,
Yeah.
because I've been trying to figure out the puzzle for a while, and whenever I find something, I grab it.
Okay.
Okay. When's our next meeting, Diana? 2 weeks?
August 10th.
August 10th? Do you think you'll be ready by August 10th, Lauren? Can we?
I think so. So the meeting is on August 10th. When would you need any response by?
We usually ask for 4 business days beforehand.
Okay. I think that should be doable.
Good.
And if it's not, I'll let you know.
All right, thank you. Someone want to make a motion to continue the hearing till the 10th?
Make a motion to continue Beaumont's Pond, file 157596.
Here's a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Not? All right, thank you very much, Lauren.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.
Now you can continue East Street.
What's that?
You can continue East Street.
Yes,
And then-
okay. All right. Someone want to make a motion for 157-591-204 East Street to continue to August 24th?
24th.
I'll make that motion.
Here, second.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? All right.
Can you plug it into the podium or something, Bill?
And what's Mr. Buckley doing
He
on
looks
the
like he's
floor?
done this before.
Mr. Buckley.
Chairman, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, my name is Bill Buckley from Bay Colony Group, and I'm here representing the applicant, Lawson Farm LLC. We're asking the commission for an extension for an order of conditions that was issued for the Lawson Farm subdivision. We filed the Form 7A. I prepared a short memo for the commission's review. I also, in April of this year, I did an inspection of the construction to date, and I included some verbiage and pictures of the stormwater structures at that period, at that time in April. And also in June of this year, Goddard Consulting did a review of the wetland restoration and wetland restoration areas around the initial portion of the project. So I'd like to just to get everybody back up to speed. I know it's been a while. I'm going to share my screen here. And so this is the project. This is Lawson Farm, and it's off of Main Street. It's locally, everybody calls it Judge Brown's property. And so if you were coming from Route 1 over here to your left, so where my hand is waving, that would be Route 1, coming by the Dunkin' Donuts, down Main Street, just before you get to 140, there on the right is the project. And it is a 30-lot subdivision, and consists of 30 lots and approximately 4,000 linear feet of road. So we received an order of conditions back in August of 2016 from the commission. That order expired last August, and we failed to renew it. Not an excuse, but we had our project manager who managed the project, that portion of it, Paul Folkman, and he left the project, and we had a tough time here integrating the new project manager who has been on site for a while now. His name's Frank Bonvy. He's one of the principal's sons who work for him. But we do have, so it is an order that has expired. So let me just talk through it just very quickly. As you come in on this site, on the left side here, we have a water quality swale that has been constructed and has been, it's actually working well and well vegetated. Right here, if you go a little bit further past where the old barn was, where you can see my hand is, that was a culvert. It used to be, I think it was a 12-inch corrugated culvert that was pretty much crushed. And what we've done is we've replaced that with a significant structure that goes through that. And again, there's some pictures in the report that I sent you. Keep going beyond that where the roads split. Actually, stop. Just go past the culvert on your left. This is Stormwater Basin 1, and that again is in full bloom. It is constructed, and it's vegetated well, and it's working well. Keep going up, taking a right. There is this is Stormwater Basin 2. Again, that is constructed and operating well. So to date, what's been built is from Main Street, if you can follow my hand, go down to, this is Goodwin, and then it goes down to the first intersection. You take a right, go up the hill to, these are the two houses that were there and are still there, and just behind it, it ends in a cul-de-sac. That's the first phase of the project. In addition, down here around the wetlands, this was an old horse farm, and everybody remembers the area was pretty denuded. There was a lot of horse waste throughout the area. So one of the things that the commission asked us to do during our permitting process was to do a buffer zone restoration around it, because right up to the intermittent stream and the wetlands around it, all through this area here, kind of where my hand is, through here and down here, that area was disturbed right up to the wetlands. So we went in and did a 25-foot, in the 25-foot no disturb zone, we had a restoration plan done, and that was done at the beginning of the first phase. And in the Goddard report, he did a review of it, gave you some photos of it. He has some recommendations of maintenance that needs to be done, mainly invasive removal in some of the areas that has to be done. That will be done this season, before the end of the season. We spoke to the owner about that. But other than that, I believe that the work has been done substantially in accordance, and we've followed the permit as permitted right now. I went down, I did an inspection of erosion. There is erosion, as you would expect on a big site, but none of it is down in the wetland area. A lot of it is in the middle here, down in this area here. Down here, there is some, right at the entrance, there's a puddle, actually on the left side as you're looking at the street, as you're looking at that plan. And that's mainly due to the catch basin has to be reset, and it's also has the silt sacks. So we put the silt sacks in there to stop siltation from going into it, but it also, if they're not cleaned regularly, they also stop water from going into it. So that was the only thing that I saw down in there. I had not had any reports from any of the town's professional staff on any issues down there during the construction. So I know that the regulations, local regulations in the Wetlands Protection Act require us to file a request for an extension submitted 30 days in advance, which we clearly have not done. But I would request the commission to waive that and to issue a request for an extension for a 3-year period. We don't know what the construction period is going to be, especially we don't know now what's going to happen. So we would ask for basically the maximum period at this time.
Jane, you got the legal knowledge.
Well, we really are not supposed to extend orders of conditions. That said, the work that they did, most of the work that had needed the order of conditions was the crossing and the detention basins. And the crossing, they did a great job in the crossing. I'm using it as my poster child. I do see that there's a lot of invasive species that need to be removed, and I do know, Bill, I did talk to you about siltation running down at the end of Main Street, onto Main Street, and then down into the culverts that direct discharge into the river. I believe I talked to you about that a long time ago.
Okay.
And also, there was the siltation at the end of the road, which is at the top of the hill. Unfortunately, that heads down towards the Lakeview Pond, the really clean cove. And last time I was there, I talked to somebody who was on site.
Right.
Was that him? He was young. It was a young guy.
Guy, that's him.
Oh, okay. He was really good. He said he'd fix it. Honestly, I haven't been there for a while with the COVID and all. I was pretty much going there. I was going there pretty often on my way into work. So I have a lot of photos. And has he fixed the erosion that's at the top of the hill going towards the pond, do you know?
I don't know.
It's a long distance, so I mean, it's not jurisdictional until it gets to the pond, and I don't want it to get to the pond.
Right.
Which
We've
is what
only
I'm sure I
cleared-
told him.
It's probably, because I know the limit of clearing. Only the roads have been cleared down there.
Yeah,
Is at least 200 feet
I know.
of woods.
I know.
Between the limit of clearing.
But it must have been buzzing down there. A lot of times there is what looks like a pond just beyond the current cul-de-sac.
Yes.
And that seems to have blown through from time to time. And like I said, last time I saw that, gosh, it must have been the end of last year.
Maybe.
My bad, I haven't gone there for a while. Strange
I
year.
guess my basic question is there any reason why we cannot?
Well, the DEP policy is not to extend an order of conditions. Our order of conditions, our bylaw, I think, states that we will not extend orders, but it is somewhat extenuating circumstances. They did do a lot of the work that they were supposed to do, and I noticed that there is a list of things that need to be done in the Goddard plan. And, for example, removal of electric wire from the stream, removal of erosion control barriers and wooden stakes from I don't know where, installation of split rail fence as indicated on the plan, and remove invasive species by mechanical or chemical treatment. I would say not by chemical treatment, but
Yeah.
hand removal, I think, was probably required in the order, because that's what I normally do. So, because of the work that they did in the past that was so good, I would, rather than having them file a whole new thing.
Yeah. I'd say 90% of the work that they've got ahead of them is out of our jurisdiction anyway.
Exactly. I would tend to say extend it for a year and see what happens if they can bring this stuff up to snuff,
Okay.
the things that are outstanding. Because honestly, I haven't seen the crossing for a little while. Haven't had a chance.
Comments from the board? Jeff, any comments?
No, I mean, the only question is it a year from the expiration or a year from now?
What was,
Wouldn't, okay, good point. It would be a year from the expiration, so maybe 2 years instead,
Okay.
because we're a year from the expiration is just coming up right now.
yeah, okay,
Thought I'd ask.
okay.
That was a good point. Good catch.
Anything else?
Bill, do you think that a year will be enough time?
It's more than fair.
Okay.
Yeah, comment? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion? Not everybody speak at once.
Okay, I'll make the motion to extend the order of conditions for a period of 2 years from the expiration for,
So 8/23/21.
Yes.
for Lawson Farms, DEP number 157554.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? All righty.
And I printed this out quick, because I had to run downstairs, and it was stuck on print both sides, so I'll have to print a second page, because it's two-sided.
All right. Just sign one side.
Just sign one side, but the other side is what they're supposed to submit when they record the extension on their order of conditions.
Okay.
Against their property.
Thank you. Are you here for River Ridge as well?
I am here as a supporting player for Peter Tam, if you need me. He'll be,
You and
Peter's on
Scott?
Zoom.
Okay. Jane, you ready for that?
Ugh. No.
Oh, okay.
Yes. The, it sounds pretty complicated, but we had a meeting, Bill Keegan, it was a Zoom meeting with a bunch of lawyers, and Bill Keegan and me, and
Was Jim Marsh in there?
you were in there too? Yeah, you were. And Bob Baker. And that's one of the lawyers right there, Peter Tam. And I hadn't seen the version 8, but this is version 8. And with the exception of the plan, which states there's a more recent plan that was submitted. It was version 2 of the final plan, and the final plan was dated December 30th and last revised January 9th, 2020. They just submitted another one because of the alteration of the River Ridge Parcel A
Okay, by the
by the
industrious
abutter.
neighbor?
By the abutter, yes. Town council has said that version 8 is good. He's given me language that can be used. We can take one and pass it down. I don't know if I have enough. To make a motion to approve it, and like I said, I noticed that the most current version they sent us was, let's see. The most current version that they sent us was not January 9th, 2020. That was one that was recorded with the Conservation and Management Permit. So that will need to be modified. But also today, I just want to bring this up so that the commission's aware. I looked up the DEP information online for the RTN, release tracking number. And it looks
the
like.
what?
Release tracking number for the MCP,
Okay, all right.
Mass Contingency Plan. On January 22nd, 2020, the DEP sent Mr. Baker, not Mr. Baker, Mr. Hastings, two letters that state the reason for this notice. Information on file with Mass DEP indicates that a release has impacted the soil and groundwater at the Porter Estate on Cocasset Street, Foxborough, Mass. As the current property owner, you are responsible for addressing the release at the property. This letter establishes a deadline for you to do this. So, I don't know how that, I just found that today. I don't
Okay.
know how that would make any kind of changes, except perhaps Mr. Hastings is not doing what is required of him as he told the commission he would.
And he's still in Florida?
I assume so.
Mr. Tam, any comments?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
not very well.
Now, can you get closer to your microphone?
Let me turn it up here. How's that?
That's better.
Better?
Good evening, and thank you all for letting me join you remotely on short notice. I think as Jane has indicated, before you is consideration of this conservation restriction, which Jim and others have been involved with in drafting. The version that I believe you have before you is essentially in final form. I'm representing, along with Bill Buckley, the new property owners, Bob and Mark, in the development of the subdivision. And they have a responsibility to enter into this conservation restriction to satisfy one of the conditions of their conservation and management. My firm is no longer representing Tom Hastings, but his approval will be necessary because it is the land for which he is the manager of the entity that will be subject to this conservation restriction. The notice which Jane points out is an old notice, and it goes back to Mr. Hastings and the entity's responsibilities under the MCP and under 21E. And he continues to be the listed responsible manager and has to comply with law. The notice that was received back in January goes to some reporting that dates back to many years. And I did touch base with him today by email, and he confirmed that he's in discussion with DEP, and he has previously, he does in fact has shared this with my colleagues, DEP has accepted his inability to pay status. So I want to try, for the benefit of the commission, to separate the different issues before you. I believe before you, you're considering whether or not the commission should enter into and agree to hold the conservation restriction. And this is a conservation restriction that will perpetually restrict uncontaminated property for which the town has no risk or liability. And I think there is a strong, compelling public interest for the town and the Conservation Commission to do so. This was not our idea, but it came from Natural Heritage and ultimately from the commission that this land be restricted. It is adjacent to and supports habitat to other public land. That land is uncontaminated, and as we had resolved with the planning that Bill and the habitat consultants prepared, that land excludes those areas of known contaminant. The issue about the tracking number and obligations under the MCP are separate. And I can appreciate that everyone would like to get this land cleaned up, and that historically this has been an issue long in the works. And what Mr. Hastings reports to me is that he has engaged Conoco, and he's continuing to undertake testing out there. But he does have, at least in the past, a particular designation, which, and I don't represent him, and I haven't represented him in this context, has afforded him inability to pay status under the MCP. So, I think it has some bearing on, so that the commission is understanding of what is out there, but it doesn't pertain directly to the conservation restriction before you. And we've, I've worked hard with Pat Costello and his predecessor with Kate Connolly to make sure that the CR goes above and beyond to address Jim Marsh and others' concerns that the town doesn't walk into inadvertently having some liability here for any potential risk. And I think we've done that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions for Mr. Tam? Judy, you all set?
I'm going to have to defer to the lawyers on this. A town lawyer, Jim Marsh.
No, okay. David, anything? So Jane, you want me to read this into the record?
Well, that's for whoever makes the motion,
Okay.
if that is in fact what the commission wants to do. It's been revised. I had crossed stuff out because I noticed that the date was wrong. So down near the second to last line, it says open space plan of land dated December 30th, 2019, as revised.
Without,
Just as revised, not and last revised on X date.
Okay. Somebody want to read it? Rich?
I'll read it, sure.
Okay, good.
I move that the commission vote to accept the grant of Mesa Conservation Restriction Revised Document V8 from Foxborough Solar Partners LLC to the town of Foxborough, acting by and through its Conservation Commission pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 8C, for the normal consideration in perpetuity and exclusivity for conservation purposes on those portions of the grantor's land located off Belcher Road and Cocasset Street, containing a total of approximately 31 acres more or less in the town of Foxborough, county of Norfolk, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the premises, more particularly described on Exhibit A, attached hereto and shown as Conservation Restriction Area Number 1, plus or minus 23.8 acres, and Conservation Restriction Area Number 2, plus or minus 7.2 acres, on a plan entitled Open Space Plan of Land, dated December 30th, 2019, revised.
As revised.
As revised, oh, okay. Prepared by the Bay Colony Group, Inc., and recorded in the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds at Plan Book 688, page 53.
Do I hear a second? May everybody speak at once?
Second the motion.
Motion been seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye. Opposed? We have a confirmation. Hooray and hallelujah. A lot of work. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
members of
Mr.
the
Tam.
commission. Thank you. Thank you all. I will note that there is still some additional process we have to go through, so we'll keep you informed via Jane to get the form approved by the state and then circulated, ultimately recorded.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I believe that Jane may have updated the commission, but if not, Bill or I are available with respect to the unauthorized activity on the adjoining land.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, town council is going to be sending out a cease and desist order, or he's going to be drafting a cease and desist order letter for the abutter,
All right.
putting him on notice. Better cut it out.
Okay. All right.
Thank you all.
We got one thing taken care of.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night now. Do we have anything else? Do you have anything else, Jane?
I can't think of anything.
Okay, Judy? Jeff?
Nope.
Nope.
Rich? Peter? Nope. Dave? Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
I
Opposed? None? Thank you, one and all.
Yep. Bye. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Beck.